what's better than enjoying our amazing wildlife? Well, doing it for free. It's that time of year again. This week marks National Parks Week, and you get to access all our national parks Mahala. It's part of a scheme to get South Africans to take pride in South Africa's beauty and, of course, visit our world-renowned national parks. So let's find out more about National Parks Week and this year's theme being Know Your National Parks. To tell us more, we're joined from Kruger Park by SANParks COO Lize McCourt. Lize, thank you so much for your time this morning, speaking to us from Skukuza, one of our beautiful little camps at Kruger Park. Thank you so much for your time. National Parks Week always kind of sneaks up on me, and I'm sort of one of those South Africans who goes, oh, we should have planned, we should have gone. But what's great about the number of parks that we have across the country is that they're so accessible. You actually don't have to plan that far ahead if you manage just to get to one of the parks that are close to one of our cities. How has planning gone for this year's big week?
Oh, the planning went absolutely exciting. Of course, we have been disrupted in our garden route, national parks, Tsitsikamma, Knysna, and Wilderness by the storm surge that we had. But I would like to start there by just ensuring all of the viewers that all three of these parks will be open for Parks Week. There might be a little bit of disruptions. For example, in Tsitsikamma, as you might have seen in the news, our temporary restaurant has been destroyed, but the park's shop is functional. All of our beautiful areas are accessible in all of our parks. Nature's Valley is closed for the moment, but all of the other areas, Wilderness, Tsitsikamma, Knysna, it is still accessible. Some of the amenities is not available, but please still come and join. So yes, all of our parks are ready to accept South Africans, to connect them as per our vision of SANParks to nature and to each other through our wonderful heritage, natural heritage that we have. We are also very excited that this year, it's always the case, but this year we're making even a little bit more effort in the fact that we coincide with Heritage Month. So our visitors will see and have access to the wide variety of cultural heritage sites that we have. If you visit on a Friday, you will see our staff all dressed up in their traditional wear. And we really just want South Africans to connect with nature, to connect with their heritage, and to connect with themselves and each other in these beautiful parks that we are. So we are ready. We are excited, and as you said, there are parks that are accessible. From Gauteng, we have parks within 2-3 hours drive that you can visit. And throughout this week, from Monday to Friday, all of our parks are accessible. And then with a few exceptions, namely Kruger, Addo, Galagadi, and Cape Point, it's also open for day visitors at all of the other parks during next weekend. So on Heritage Day, most of our parks will still also be accessible free, with free entry across the board, yes. And all you need is your South African ID passport, your ID or a passport, South African, and that is your access that you need. And if you are older than 18, younger than 18, you're welcome to join us.
And isn't that just great? We don't often get to use our IDs for things that actually are going to bring you joy. It's normally when you're doing life admin. So that's a really nice way to have to use your ID. You were talking about connecting with nature, but then also knowing that nature can be unpredictable, as we're seeing along our coastal areas. And you mentioned Tsitsikamma, one of my favorite parks to visit. And I managed to, the last time I visited there was just a week before we went into hard lockdown, what seems like a lifetime ago. And what's beautiful about that park, those cabins that are right on the rocks. And to be able to have access, to be able to open your door and you're right on the rocks, you're right facing the ocean. You also have to make peace with the fact that, you know, sometimes nature is going to disrupt your well-laid plans and you just have to go with it. Do you find that your team sometimes have to deal with people who are used to modern life where you press a button and something appears and everything is done like yesterday already, and you get to the parks and you actually just need to go by the pace of the beautiful nature around you?
We find that our visitors are mostly, very, very accommodating and understanding. There's always the one or two that feel that they've been let down by us or by the circumstances that is around. But if you follow now the stories around some of the evacuation that we did on the trails, you would see that it's overwhelmingly positive in terms of people understanding and appreciating that our staff had to go in on foot. We couldn't do any aerial rescues, we couldn't do any aerial evacuation, so we had to literally prioritize and say, okay, where are the greatest danger zones, and then on foot go and assist the people, as well as communications is totally down, so we couldn't reach out to especially people that were on the hiking trails, etc. But we found that we were really overwhelmed, in terms of we didn't have to evacuate any of the chalets. We had to evacuate some of the Insitikama, some of the campsites. But everybody was so, really cooperating and appreciative, and still, and almost marveling, it is so destructive, but it's also so awe-inspiring to see nature in all its force, and to be able to be part of that. And it actually almost also assists with that connectivity and with that, destructive but healing at the same time. So, we are overwhelmed by how positively the people have responded. And of course, we are incredibly, incredibly thankful that there hasn't been any loss of life, that our infrastructure is largely intact. We are a bit concerned about the suspension breach at this point in time, so we have closed it. And then, of course, the restaurant. But the park shop is functioning. All of our chalets are intact. Our visitors and our staff is all safe. And yes, so we've closed some of the hiking trails, but short-lived. It will be short-lived, and I think it's part of the awe-inspiring story of nature, is that nature heals, nature destructs.
And nature is extremely resilient as well. Lize, just in closing, I'm very passionate of trying to get as many people to visit our national parks as possible. And so when we go to our parks and all we hear foreign accents around me, I'm like, we need more South Africans to get access.
Absolutely.
But we do come from a history where generations of people did not have access to these beautiful parks. So it needs to become a habit, and that needs to be passed down from generation to generation. From what your experience on the ground and the data that you and your team are collecting, are you seeing many first-time visitors, especially now post-pandemic, and people wanting to explore the country like they've never seen before? Are we seeing more and more of those first-time visitors coming with their families and friends?
Absolutely. We do see our loyal visitors always coming back as well, but a big surge of especially South Africans that reach out and that want to be part of nature and want to take ownership of the national parks. If you visit Skukuza, like I'm lucky enough to do now, even though it is for work, you would be overwhelmed by the previously disadvantaged and the previously excluded claiming the parks back, and it excites us. It excites us to see how many visitors from South Africa everywhere comes here, enjoy it, and it is also our privilege to respond to their needs. They have different needs. There are needs to connect back to the cultural roots, but there are also needs in terms of having a little bit of more of a modern experience and having a bit of pampering. And SANParks is really investing in that very specifically, is to give that more of a modern experience still in nature, while we still also provide you the bush and we provide you the experience that you need. Of course, we've been impacted by COVID, so of course we struggle with some of our infrastructure, and we are investing in that in order to enhance the guest experience. But we really do see, and it warms my heart tremendously to see how South Africans embrace nature. And how we can see, especially after the pandemic and all the difficulties that we have in this country, how nature heals. and our nature connects and our nature equalize South Africans. And that is why this week is for us so special, because the poor around our parks, we bring them in busloads, we take them to the cultural sites. We do all of these things in order to say this belongs to you. Every one of you, if you have a South African ID, the parks belong to you. Come, connect, enjoy the parks, be here, and spread the news. Spread the news.
Okay, well, spread the news indeed. SANParks Week is upon us from September the 16th to the 24th. And if you've got a green ID book, you will get free access to our beautiful national parks.